Amazing people. So this was where we stopped in the last class. Talking about um what were we trying to do here? Okay, we're still trying to establish the labor theory of value. So today we'll continue from there. And we're talking about division of labor and specialization. So Adam Smith was the man that properly spoke about the importance of division of labor. He observed it during his own time that when you break down production process, a production and distribution process now. So because I don't think it's just production, okay? Because production should end in a factory, but then some people still have to distribute this product to the markets. You understand? So I prefer saying production and distribution. I think okay, that's just what I put there. So he realized that the breaking down of all of these activities into smaller units to be undertaken by um, somebody or a group of persons, increase labor productivity, and by extension increase the economic output, of a state, okay, or of the state at the time that he was looking at. And then he observed a pin factory. Then he observed a pin factory where they had a lot of processes. I think 18 processes, okay, 18 tasks in carrying out a pin. So and then he realized that when one person tried to do all of those tasks, I think where is it? I'm trying to look at 18 tasks. So he realized that when one person tries to do all of those tasks, he would only be able to produce 20 paints in a day. 20 paints in a day. Now, when workers were, distributed along these 18 tasks, and people are allowed to specialize in, each component of the task, they produce 48,000 pins in a day. Just look at that gap from 20 pins. If one person was to produce a pin in a day to 48,000 pins in a day. So this idea was also contained in his book, that we've been trying to talk about, trying to pick one or two things from, from the last class that we covered. So like that was just the essential thing that he realized. So he advocated for division of labor and specialization. Of course, division of labor is what leads to specialization. So when you are when in the production process, in the production and distribution process, so you're only allowed to undertake one aspect of it. So over time, since that's what you are continuously doing, over time you become specialized in it, and that becomes what you can do, as an expert. Okay, but the downside of specialization is just that if that business was to be thrown out of the economy, you may not be able to find another job because you don't have other skill sets. So that's like the downside of it. So let's just read what I have here. The division of labor and specialization. During its time, the Industrial Revolution turned manufacturing into a decentralized process with the aid of machinery and steam power. So factories could make products faster and cheaper than individuals could. Thus, Smith recognized the importance of the division of labor. Now, division of labor is the breakdown of a production and distribution process. Because you are talking about distribution of labor, you are talking about distribution of work, according to labor. Okay, distribution of work, in a way that labor undertakes them. Okay, so in case you have division of work, if we explain division of work, so it's still the same thing as division of labor. Okay, division of labor is the breakdown of a production and distribution process to be undertaken in bits by different persons or groups. So it could be undertaken by individuals or maybe a group of people. Okay, to illustrate the division of labor, Smith counted how many tasks were involved in making a pin. Drawing out a piece of wire was a task, cutting it into the right length was another task, straightening it was a task, putting a head on one end and a point on the other, a fourth task, packaging pins for sale, fifth task, and so on. Okay, so Smith counted 18 distinct tasks that were typically performed by different people, all for a pin. So it's just surprising that 18 tasks just to produce pin, that tiny thing that when it falls to the ground, you may not even see it again. So in the study of pin factories, Smith observed that one worker alone might make 20 pins in a day, but that a small business of 10 workers, can you see, a small business of 10 workers, some of whom would need to do 2 or 3 of the 18 tasks involved in pin making, could make 48,000 pins in a day. So if you have just 10 workers, that are taking one or handling one or two, aspects of the work, they can make 48,000 pins in a day combined compared to 20. So like this is just drastic. This is revolutionary. This is revolutionary. It is amazing. It is amazing what technology can do for you. Alright, so it then figured that the division of labor led to specialization and thus raise worker productivity and total output. So I have a picture here. okay, because some of you learn more by what you see. So this is an example of a pin making factory, according to what Adam Smith said, like an example of pin making factory of his time. So you can see different tasks. I think I really like this image because you can see the division of labor going on. So a man, I don't know, a man and a woman handling a wheel. Okay, I don't know if that's what it is called. Then you have somebody going around, maybe the supervisor or thereabouts, I don't know, or maybe another worker. Then you can just see how many people do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you can see 8 people here undertaking different tasks. And someone is sitting on the floor, so engaging himself in something. Alright, so with this, I believe that you should be able to remember what he said about division of labor. Alright. So he also talked about taxation. And as we talked about taxation and talked about the canons of tax. So when you talk about canons of tax, you're talking about the principles of tax. Okay, so he mentioned 4 canons of tax also from his book. So the canons of tax is just talking about what a tax should consider, or what the government should consider in implementing tax policies. So you don't just implement tax arbitrarily. Okay, of course we've said that the government shouldn't intervene in the market, you allow the market to work, but obviously the government has to also get government's major revenue in any country is derived from its tax. So, and I'm still not trying to explain how the government should impose tax. What should the government consider in tax imposition? Don't just kill businesses. You remember that was it during the time of Ibn Khaldun? It was talking about when we're talking about when we're talking about Khaldun Laffer curve, where the government then was just imposing taxes arbitrarily. It was just something else. To the extent that when the economy was even small, the government was generating more tax revenue than when the economy became big, because the taxes became too much and business started like shut down and leave the market. Okay, so he in his own time is now saying that there are things that we should consider before we impose taxes, before you should impose taxes on people. Okay, and it is important for you to note that outside these principles that he stated, principles of taxation that he stated, there are other principles as well that have been brought into fore, after his time. So let's just start. What are taxes? Taxes are compulsory levy placed on individuals, businesses, and assets. So I call that the tax base. That's what it means. The object of taxation, they are called tax base. For those of you that have been doing public finance, if you've not come across this, the object of taxation are called the object of taxation are called the tax base. So you have individuals, okay, government taxes people, it taxes businesses, and it taxes assets, okay, like properties and so on and so forth. Okay, so taxes are compulsory levy placed on individuals, businesses, and assets by the government and its corresponding organizations. So in the Wealth of Nations, Adam Smith itemized 4 canons or principles of taxation. They are: number 1, fairness. Okay, he said that a tax should be fair, a tax system should be fair. Okay, and what does it mean? It says tax should be compatible with the taxpayer's economic conditions. That is, people's ability to pay. So if you are earning a low income, so you should be paying low taxes, and if you are earning a high income, you should be paying high taxes. So not, vice versa. Not the way we have these days that you have very rich people paying, they are the ones that even avoid paying taxes the most, or they don't pay as much in terms of percentages. So you could hear somebody paying tax of 1 billion naira. Okay, and you're like, okay, 1 billion naira is a lot, but by the time you take it as a percentage of his total income or wealth, you realize that it is a fraction, it is an infinitesimal fraction of his wealth, compared to poor people that you are now saying that they should pay 20% of their taxes. So when the rich man, when you compare his own wealth to percentage, and he's only paying about 5% taxes with all of the money that he has, and then as a poor person you are paying 7, 5, 7, 9, 10 to 15% or 20% or whatever. So that's not fair. So he was saying that they should pay tax, and I think it was also reported during the physiocrat era, that we considered the other time, that landowners, we are also avoiding taxes. I think I spoke about it. So landowners were avoiding, people that were rich were the ones avoiding taxes. They had landowners, the clergymen, the big people, the rich ones. So they were just taxing the poor, and I think it's still the same thing these days. Okay, the poor people are the ones that really end up paying taxes. Okay, then you have certainty. So the people should know. Okay, they should know the reason for taxation, and they should know how much they are paying. Okay, so you shouldn't just come today and say your tax is this, and tomorrow your tax is that, or maybe I get into the tax office, I want to pay my tax, and they say that no, that's not the amount I'm supposed to pay, and I'm like, what? And the other time I was here, this was the amount I paid. So things like that should not be. So people should be certain of the taxes that they are paying, and then they should be made to realize that we are not just taxing because we want to punish you. We are taxing because there is a need for it. Okay, then people must also be sure of the manner of payment. So how should they pay? How should they pay these days? Is it online? Is it, do you have to get to an office physically and this one and that? So people, these are things that should be certain, right? Then you have convenience. Taxes should be easy to pay, right? So as a salary earner, your taxes should be deducted after you've earned your salary, right? And if you're a farmer, your taxes should be deducted, or you should be allowed to pay your taxes after harvest period. So it's not like you just turn everything upside down. You just mandate everybody to be paying taxes every month. It's not going to be convenient for people like farmers, right, to be paying their own taxes every month. Or you begin to say that they should be paying their taxes end of the year, maybe during harvest period. So that's not going to be convenient for salary earners as well. So taxes should be convenient to pay. Then efficiency. So here he was saying that it doesn't make sense for you in your tax administration to incur more costs in collecting taxes than the amount of tax revenue that you are generating. So maybe your tax revenue after the whole process is done is 15 billion naira. But then you ended up spending like 20 billion naira and collecting 15 billion naira. That's not efficient. That's just that's wasteful, very wasteful. So the cost of tax collection should not be greater than the tax revenue. Alright. So also the administration of tax collection should not negatively affect the allocation and use of resources in the economy. So what this is saying that unlike some government office when you get it, like some not unlike like some government office where you get it today, for you to do anything, just know that that day is wasted. So you can't quickly run into a government office, do something, or a government parastatal, do something and return to your business, return to your work for the day. So you just know that this day that I'm going to this government house, I know, or to this government agency, I know that I can't do anything else today again. So it's not sensible. It shouldn't be. So people shouldn't have to spend days and weeks at the tax office wasting precious time and money that could have been used for their personal crafts and businesses. So if I want to pay my, it should be efficient. The process should be efficient, easy and convenient. I just go there, do what I'm supposed to do. In a matter of minutes, I'm done, and I can return to whatever activity that I have for the day. Alright, it is important to know that there are other canons of tax today, such as neutrality, elasticity, neutrality of tax, elasticity of tax, diversity, productivity, and whatever canons that may be existing in your own period. So he spoke about international trade as well. So here, talking about international trade, so he was talking about free trade. So we mentioned something like this, or something like that, something like this in the first part of this class. Okay, so it was in support of free trade. So free trade is saying that government take off your hands. Okay, you are busy protecting people, protecting mercantilists. You said agricultural produce should not be sold; they should be used in the country. Manufactured products should be taxed heavily; they should not be allowed to come in. But you should be supporting. You should be selling manufactured products to other countries, and this, like, all of those things, are they really necessary? So he was trying to state that trade benefits everybody, because if you were to go into a transaction, you won't leave that if it's a voluntary transaction, like a voluntary, you're not forced, you're not compelled. Okay, it's not a regulated transaction. So if you were to go into a voluntary transaction, right, you're not going to leave the transaction without feeling better than how you entered into the transaction. So if you as a student, you are coming to join, of course you're already in, right? So and you've paid, and you discover that at the end of the day everything that we're saying here doesn't make sense, or you can just leave. Or if you happen to have prior information that, oh, this thing, if you join it, everything that is not useful, it's not useful. So what's the point? And the trade is not going to happen no matter how much I try to advise you, convince you, sell you, and sell the idea to you. That's what I mean, not sell you to slavery. They sell the idea to you and all of that. So they are not going to convince you. So if people should enter into voluntary trade, right? So on their own, right? They are going to maximize trade on their own. Everybody's going to benefit. The seller will feel better, going into the trade, and then when he leaves, that's what I mean. And then the buyer would also feel better that, okay, I've gained value, more than what I paid. That's the point. So the consumer will feel that, okay, I've kind of cheated this seller, because, okay, what I'm buying, it's really worth it. So because if it does not at least equal to the amount of money you are willing to part with for the product, then you're not going to buy it. Do you understand? So if you bought it, that means at least you value the product at the same amount that you've paid for it. But most times you kind of feel that, okay, you've cheated. This is a good bargain, that you've cheated the seller. All right, and the same thing for the seller. The seller feels that, oh wow, I got, good, I made a good profit on this that I sold to this person from. So that's just it. So when people are allowed to go into voluntary trade, everybody's better off. Everybody's better off. So that's the point. And I think from the 10 principles of economics, which you must have learned from your very first class as an undergraduate, trade makes everyone better off, or trade can make everyone better off. Okay, I think it's just like that. Trade can make everyone better off. Okay, so if the trade is voluntary, if it's not forced, okay, if it's voluntary, if you are not compelling sellers to sell at a particular price, so like a price legislation, okay, so if it's voluntary, trade benefits for everybody that is there, the trade benefits all of them, so it increases the wealth of the country. Now, Adam Smith was in support of free trade. He didn't want government intrusion in the economy. He also didn't believe wealth consisted in the accumulation of precious metals, okay, like the mercantilists. He argued that, and the same thing for the physiocrats. So you can see two things now, okay, where they share commonness, if there's anything like that. He agreed that wealth existed in the value of production and free trade in the society. So it is combining manufacturing and trade now. So to him, all free trade was mutually beneficial, whether it's a domestic trade, whether it's an international trade, just make it free, right? All free trade was mutually beneficial, and voluntary trade wouldn't have taken place at all if both parties aren't walking away from the transaction feeling better about themselves. So thus, all free trade raises wealth, because I feel well they are going into a transaction, the seller also feels well they are going to that transaction. So restricting free trade was damaging. Alright, next, capital. We spoke about capital. So as a factor of production, so profit flowed from capital investment, and capital follows the most profit potential. So what he's saying is that capital owners, those who have capital, right? It could be in terms of maybe financial assets or fiscal assets. Okay, they are not going to invest their capital in a place that does not have a large profit potential. So that's the point. So if there are two businesses, for example, and one of the businesses is looking to be more profitable than the other one, you have a lot of capital inflow into the business that has the potential for the highest profit or for the higher profit. You understand? So that was what it meant, that capital follows profit, or capital follows profit potential. It follows highest profit potential. Okay, and after capital has followed the highest profit potential, then profit flows from capital. You understand? So after you've invested your capital in business, at the end of the day, profit is like a shadow. So the business becomes profitable, and then you get profit from it. Do you understand? So profit flow from look at that. So if the beaver business becomes more profitable than the deer business, producers move their capital into the beaver business and vice versa. I was just thinking that I was going to have a presentation where there will be no grammatical error ever, or a typo error, but here I'm having it again. So it's vice versa, please, not vice versa. So finally, Smith appreciated the importance of private property, that is capital, of course, without which there will be no efficient production at all. So if you are saying government should take their hands off, and then capital should be allowed to flow, because if you had to talk about policies now, so from his support of capital, so you would obviously know that one of his policies must have been that you allow capital to flow, you allow people to own private property, and then give them the freedom to use their capital the way they want to use it. So after all, if they invest their capital in something that's unreasonable, people are not going to buy it. So just let that freedom exist. So after that, we have an assignment. Okay, number one, we critically examine the labor theory of value and the invisible hand popularized by Adam Smith. Okay, he didn't introduce labor theory of value; he popularized it. Invisible hand too, kind of. The physiocrats kind of talked about it, but it was more structured and popularized by Adam Smith. So critically examine the labor theory of value and the invisible hand popularized by Adam Smith. Okay, discuss the following as espoused by Adam Smith. You have natural price and the market price, value in use, value in exchange, and the paradox of value. And number three, juxtapose the theory of division of labor of Adam Smith and Ibn Khaldun. Alright, juxtapose the theory of the division of labor of Adam Smith and Ibn Khaldun. So that's that about that. Of course, you might have questions to talk about them in class, observations, comments, and all of that. And if there is any controversy, of course, we'll talk about it in class. You can just leave your comments in the comment section if that is available by then. So thank you very much. In the next class, we'll be talking about David Ricardo and the rest of them. See you there. Bye.